Now, we're not alone for most of the hour. We're going to be backwards and forwards with the Minister of Home Affairs, Aaron Motsoaledi. Very bravely, no, I'm joking, morning, Minister. Very good morning to you. You're going to be with us for most of the morning. And there's a lot to talk about. I mean, there really is. I'm not sure where to pick up, but I would like to say this, that we've already gotten a couple of tweets from viewers who are saying, Tumelo, Gareth, please ask the Minister various things. I'm sure the Minister won't mind. Well, I'll grab them on my phone. You can tweet us at eNCA, or you can tweet me directly, because you're still, now that Elon Musk is in charge, you're still not on Twitter, are you?
No.
You can tweet me at Gareth Edwards SA. Any questions, comments? I'm sure the Minister will go through some of those with us a bit later.
But I mean, we have to ask the biggest one, I think, of this past weekend, literally the biggest, and we need your opinion about this Minister. Kaizer Chiefs or Pirates? Whose side were you on this past week? We just have to start there with the Minister, set the tone, then we'll go from there. Where were you? Were you happy? Were you celebrating, or were you crying?
Well, I've been Kaizer Chiefs ever since its inception, so I was happy.
And I'm out. I'll see you guys at 8 o'clock. You guys have a good interview. I'm out of here.
I need you. Well, thank you for joining us, Minister. A lot happening and so much to get through. But let's start first, if I may, Minister, with regards to the plans of using visa facilitation services model for passports for 2023. There are a lot of questions around passports and the facilitation of passports in South Africa. Where are we with those plans as a department?
Well, the issue of visa facilitation services is used all over the world to try and help people to get passports. Because remember, you can apply for a passport here at home, but there are those people who apply in all our missions all over the world, and they need that type of help of visa facilitation services.
IOL reporting just a few days ago, Minister, I'm sure you're aware of the article saying sources, this is from IOL, sources from within the DHA, saying that this e-visa is actually not working. It's collapsed. It never worked when the time that it was announced. Where are we on that? Was there a miscommunication, badly communicated? What happened? It's a big issue.
Yeah, no, you're opening a can of worms on the ILO. I think we have become victims of Operation Cleanser. You know, our fight against corruption is biting now. That I can say proudly. We are arresting people. Some are being fired. You know, starting right from the way Pastor Bushiri got his documents. If you remember, a whole lot of people have been charged. Some have already been dismissed. There are still court cases which we have given over to the Hawks. Now it looks like there's a fight back. And it's quite unfortunate to discover that that fight back seems to involve the independent newspapers. You realize that they've already written 3 damning articles about the department. The first one, they were targeting my investigators. The people who are investigating and logging up these people. They were targeted for huge reputational damage. One of them, the main investigator, who's a director, does not even drink. But there was a big headline story that he went on a drinking spree, where got ladies of the night and did not pay them and all that. He stole a government car, and they even put the number plate there of a car that does not even exist in our department. And they said her boss, the advocate who is the DDG for counter-corruption, is doing nothing about all these things, and nothing will happen to her because she's in love with the minister. You know, even bringing what they call sexual scandals. Just when we thought that is enough, they moved on to the head of the immigration officers, the ones who move around taking whether people are in the country legally or illegally. He happens to be the younger brother of Minister Naledi Pandor. He has always been in Home Affairs, as far as I can remember. But now, all of a sudden, they are talking about the corruption of the people in the Methodist Church there, that he did something which was wrong.
Are you denying a lot of what IOL is saying?
No, it's nonsense, actually. I'm not denying it. It's nonsense.
So why would they be doing this?
It did not happen. I mean, for instance, they say that a younger brother of Minister Naledi Pandor was suspended in May, and Minister Pandor phoned me to stop because that's a younger brother. That's absolute corruption if she did that. But the issue is, Gareth, he was never suspended. It never happened. So they are putting up things that didn't happen. They also linked him, by the way, to a love affair. So I am saying these stories are a fight back campaign. And my question is, when thugs are fighting back, when we want to lock them down, why should a newspaper group be part of that type of a campaign? That's the question.
So what are you doing about these allegations that they are mounting against the department and some of your key, employees there, but as well as the allegations you're saying about them?
Well, the decision we've taken, we respond. By the way, they ask you a question and give you 4 hours to respond, and when you respond, they ridicule your response. So we made a decision that whenever the Star, particularly because these appear in the Star, unfortunately, I've got to mention that. When they ask us questions, we'll rather issue a public media statement rather than to answer to them, because they are on a mission here. But Minister Pandor told me straight that she's considering legal action. Remember, we're talking about the newspaper group here, which is pulled out of the control system. You can't report them to the ombudsperson because they are not part of that. So we're still looking carefully on what to do, but the main issue is to strengthen our officials, never to get deterred, because this is meant to push them back so that they get scared when they invest cases. We are more determined than ever before. There's no way we'll hand over the department to rascals and corruption. We may as well pack if that's happened, because remember, Tumelo, the Home Affairs Department is the base department for everything, in terms of security, identification, transactions. You can't do any transaction in the country, whether in business, social, or what, without going through Home Affairs. So if the damage and destruction is there, the country will be in big trouble. So we can't pull back on this issue. Take, for instance, the people who are being investigated for passport fraud. It just looks like fraud somewhere, but it has got far, far, far-reaching implications. Why? The South African passport losing reputation. You're struggling. You are Tumelo, you are working here. You've got nothing to do with Home Affairs. But one day you go to London and you realize that they doubt who you are. You'll remember the airline which was asking people questions in Afrikaans to determine if they are South Africans. Of course, that was wrong, and they apologized. But they said, look, we are doing it because when we say South African passport, we're not sure whether the person we are talking to is the one who says.
Can I ask this, now that you've brought up the question of passports, Minister, just before we wrap up for the moment, we're going to have the Minister with us throughout the morning. Right. But I was going to talk about e-visas, but now that you brought in passports, why are we seeing a jump in prices for passports? Just very briefly on this, why it's almost double, and it's 50% more. Why is that?
It's 50% more. I actually wanted it to be double. But the Minister of Treasury, because in terms of the Act, I must consult you, he took it a little bit lower. There are two main reasons. The last time our passport tariffs were reviewed was in 2011. But we then put up a service provider to do a benchmarking. And he discovered that South African passports are 3 times cheaper than in many countries around the world. And when we calculated, we found that we are actually heavily subsidizing passport holders. Very heavy subsidy. And our argument is this. People who take passport are better off than ordinary citizens. But ordinary citizens, who most of whom are poor, are not being subsidized when to go and take IDs. We subsidize the passport, not the ID. And we said, no, we can't go this way. The people who want to travel must pay for that travel, because travel is not cheap anywhere in the world. That's why we wanted to double them. But Treasury only allowed us to increase them by 50%.
All right, we'll have to leave it there, but the Minister's still with us. Minister Aaron Motsoaledi is still joining us. A lot still to go through. Those tweets still coming in for Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. If you have any questions whatsoever, Gareth, you, of course, on Twitter and at eNCA is where you can, of course, send through your tweets.
Yeah, I'm seeing a few coming through as well. Just by the way, we're going to come back to the tweets in just a second.